All right, guys. So, in keeping in line with the general theme of my previous video, I'm going to watch another one that's quite hilarious, at least to me. Um, by the way, I think it would be awesome, and I think we've done something like this before, and I just kind of forgot about the whole format. I would like to cover things like this in a group setting, and we can present and then have people uh, bring up points, and it would be better because you could actually have people on the opposite side rebut things and be like, this is what they actually meant, etc. And I think it'll be great. And by the way, it doesn't have to just be shitting on the right. That's what I tend toward. But I'll do anything. I don't care. Like, you submit like a request for a video, as long as it doesn't go against YouTube's terms of service, I'll play it, and we can discuss whatever. It can even be like an entire hit piece on the left. I don't care. Uh, Sincerely, I don't think that what I'm doing is, because it's not like a bunch of, it's not like all edited and like these are only the dumb things that the right wing say. Like, this is just like, you don't have to search for it. This is the right in general, like in our country. It's hilarious. Like, you don't have to dig through and like search like with a fucking fine tooth comb to discover this shit. It's like every damn time they open their mouth. It's hilarious. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get into this. And like I said, whatever you would like to discuss, maybe we could set up a live stream one day. Just put in the comments what you would like to go over. It can be any sort of YouTube video or whatever that you want to deal in. And like, honestly, like, you can feel like you're grilling my side, so to speak, or whatever. I don't care. Like, I'm more than willing to cover any topic, as long as it's not some shit that I just don't deal in. Like, I'm not touching fucking flat earth, uh just weird pseudo-scientific shit. That's not my thing. If you really, if many people, not just like one, if many people really want to cover something like that, I guess I will, and I'll try to have fun. But it just fucking it kills brain cells for me. I can't deal in it. It's fucking But anyway, let's go ahead and get this shit going here.
Let's turn to war, because that should calm down the debate. Destiny, look, obviously it's a pretty consequential election in many ways, but not least, I would argue, for the fate of people in Gaza and Ukraine and other hotspots around the world. Where are we with these? I mean, it's quite interesting to me that for the first time I can remember, you have a body of Republicans who do not want to back, say, Ukraine against a Russian dictator that illegally invaded their country. I remain very perplexed and surprised that is the view. And Sarah, we can come to you for why that may be. But that is the case. If Trump was to win, he says he'll fix it all in 24 hours. I don't think he will, but he will try and do a deal. The question is, what is that deal? Because Ukraine is saying they're not going to give up an inch of the land.
So the issue is that Donald Trump's a 4-year-old when it comes to understanding any issue, but especially foreign policy. And a lot of people have this, they're obsessed with this idea of peace in their mind, which if you're in conflict, peace is the furthest thing from your mind. You want some kind of just peace or justice, right? So Trump's solution for Ukraine is just give up the land that's been taken from you and everything will be kosher, just like Russia did in Moldova with Transnistria, just like Russia did with South Ossetia, and I can't pronounce the other place in Georgia, and just like Russia's trying to do now with Ukraine. If you're somebody that wants, justice for Ukraine, and you want the United States to remain a world leader when it comes to, ensuring trade routes or being somebody that the world looks to ensure relative peace and freedom and stability throughout places like Europe, which it has enjoyed historically more in the past 30 years than it had in the 200 years prior to that, Donald Trump obviously is not going to do that for you. If you're somebody who's very concerned about the Israeli-Gaza conflict, I mean, you've got Donald Trump, who wholeheartedly, he said it before, will support Israel basically no matter what, with absolutely, no contention whatsoever. You've got a guy who agreed to moving the embassy, who before that was talking about pulling all of the UNRWA funding from the Gaza Strip, who would support Netanyahu through and through. The whole reason why those Abraham Accords started was because Netanyahu wanted to start annexing parts of the West Bank, right? Donald Trump is not going to help any of the Palestinians if that's something that you're concerned about. Insofar as peace in the Middle East, I mean, you've got this talking point over and over again, no new wars, no new wars. Yeah, again, we haven't had any new wars since World War II, right? The war in Iraq was the use of force authorization, the authorization of the use of force, but it wasn't technically a war.
Well,
Donald Trump, you can call it that, but Donald Trump bombed Syria. Donald Trump bombed Syria. That wasn't a war, apparently. Yeah, with no.
You'll notice this with Piers Morgan over and over again. Like Cenk, Kyle Kalinske, pretty much anyone calls him out on it every single time. He feigns this sort of centrist type take that he's like completely in the middle. He's fair and balanced, so to speak, but he never really, he only touches Trump when it's like so obvious he has to. He wears the kids' gloves with Trump. He's like such a damn Trump dick sucker. It's hilarious. He's not fair and balanced, but he pretends like he is. And like, then he'll be like, oh, I called out Trump on this. And it's like, he had to. But when all of the obvious things, he's like so obviously biased as fuck. And then tries to pull this deal like he's like completely in the center. But anyhow, let's continue.
Congressional authorization. Iran attacked Saudi Arabia. They did a drone strike on oil refineries. There was conflict all throughout Iraq and Syria. Donald Trump abandoned Kurdish allies in Syria. Donald Trump signed a deal with the Taliban and essentially forfeited Afghanistan. And there was the whole fallout from that. Like this idea that there was peace in the Middle East under Donald Trump is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
I actually think Trump's foreign policy was a lot more effective than people give him credit for.
What was effective about it?
Well, there's not. Look, I mean, it's not. There's some truth in there mixed with some just like attempts to get Donald Trump. Like when people say there were no new wars under Donald Trump, there is. First of all, I'll say at least that's the talking point. At least that's what they're going with, rather than going he killed all them terrorists or something like that, which would have 20 years ago would have been the talking point from people on the right wing. So that's at least better. But the reason why they wouldn't consider him bombing Syria a new war is because Obama had us already in that conflict since 2012. When he
reneged on his red line.
Yes. Now, listen, by the way, there are
Assad used chemical weapons and Obama did nothing, and Putin came in and took control. Well, that's what happened.
Okay.
Yes,
anyway, yes.
That is what happened.
Well, actually, if you want to really look at what happened in 2012, because the war, and I know you know about this stuff, because the war in Iraq had been such a disaster, and the power had been handed back to the Shiites in the region, and Iran had more influence than they had had in the history of the regime. Then it really started under George W. Bush, then continued into Obama. They did what they call the redirect, where now we were going to try to take the Shiites down a peg, who we had just put in power in Iraq. And so what we wanted to do was overthrow Bashar al-Assad. And so we started funding all of the anti-Assad rebels, which largely consisted of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and they knew this. Anyway, it wasn't like during Obama inherited these two wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and said he was going to end at least the one in Iraq. He then spread wars to Libya, Syria, Yemen. Somalia had already been going since George W. Bush was in there. You didn't see that under Donald Trump. You didn't see. However, he did. Yes. If you let me finish the sentence, then sure, we get there. However, he did escalate the war in Afghanistan, which he said himself was unwinnable, and so he escalated the war in Afghanistan. Not like Obama with 70,000 plus troops there, but he did send thousands extra troops. He did take off the gloves with drone strikes and rules of engagement. So the idea that he was like an anti-war president is not true. There was rhetorically. He was very different than previous presidents, and he would at least talk about the idea that these wars were disasters, that we never should have fought them, and that really America shouldn't be involved in that business.
Also,
I'm glad that he's at least infusing that into the popular conversation.
He came at it with an overview as a business guy. It's just bad business. These wars were costing trillions of dollars cumulatively to get nowhere, really. What's your assessment of Trump on the foreign stage?
And there's huge conflicts of interest also with this war machine that our country has seemed to have embraced and allowed to perpetuate. I'm voting for Trump because I hate war. And I don't know if any of you, I hate that it's the old men who call for wars and they send our young men to go fight those wars for them, our young men and our young women. And, all politics are personal. I don't know if any of you have a real personal connection with those who have been sent to war zones. And then the guys, the gals, they come back different people. They're adversely affected. On a personal level here, I will do whatever I can, and I will support whatever candidate needs support in order to avoid war. Why I will not support Kamala is she doesn't understand, for one, that inherent link between energy development, energy independence in America, and that inherent link between that and our safety and our sovereignty. And because Kamala and because the Democrat Party has put an end to so much of their exploration, certainly so much of our development of our own natural resources.
Isn't America producing more energy today than we had all of history?
No, we're not.
I knew it was coming because this is a constant fucking right-wing talking point, and it's like it's just a lie. It's a fucking lie. Like everything over and over and over again, but no one learns. It's hilarious. So she's getting called out for her bullshit, and people feel bad for her. So it is true that there are 3 people that are kind of like giving the reality of the situation, but it's like fucking comic relief if you're going to make the claim that this would have went any differently if it had been just 1 and 1. Like that's just hilarious if you're trying to make that claim. Like, this is the right. Like, how the fuck does Sarah Palin, she has the IQ of a fucking tomato. Like, how the fuck does she even get in politics in the first place? Why is this your bar? Why is this okay? Anyhow, let's continue.
That's not true. We're not.
No, we're not. And
Okay.
remember, Kamala and her administration, day one, they stopped pipelines. No more drilling on federal lands.
So we looked up America's not producing
They
energy. You ran with McCain.
They
You
did.
said you care about veterans and everything. Did Trump's
Yeah,
comments about
yeah.
McCain bother you at all? Did Trump prefers people that didn't get captured?
I've never said anything negative about McCain or
I
any.
didn't ask if you said it. I asked if
anything
Trump's
else.
comments bother you
So
about that.
anyway,
But
the
when Trump
inherent
made fun of that
link,
Gold Star family
the
for their
inherent
trial, did that
link
bother you?
between the
They bother
inherent
me.
link
I
between
wrote a column
energy.
criticizing him
She
heavily
just said
for
she
it.
cares about vets. I had parents that served in the Air Force. I'm just curious. If you cared about vets, did these comments bother you?
If
When
I
Trump
care
tried to go to
about
Arlington
vets,
and do a photo
if
op
I
there,
care about vets,
Yeah, if you
really,
do, did these comments
really,
bother you?
if I care about
Yes,
vets,
if you care about vets,
so
I'm
the
asking, do these
inherent
comments bother you?
link between energy and prosperity.
Why is she pivoting constantly? Like, why can't she answer the question? It's a very simple question. Maybe because she's sucking Donald Trump's dick so she can remain in power?
And
It's going to
energy
talk about whether or
security.
not Trump's comments about McCain
You
bother you.
interrupted the point that I was going to make.
You're
You
not making any
changed the
points. These are
subject,
political
dude.
talking points. Are we running for office in here?
Really,
Yes.
really.
You did run for office, by the way. You ran with John
Oh
McCain, the
my
most
gosh.
warmongering man that we know of. Why
I
did you
did
run
think
with
that
John
was the
McCain?
point to make. No,
Why
Why
I
did you
just-
Was I
run?
to
Why did you run with John
change-
McCain? If you're anti-wars,
To make a positive difference in our
but he would have
country.
sent more people to die.
You don't know that.
I do. He
You don't
literally
know-
said bomb, bomb, bomb
Oh,
Iraq.
you're-
He sang it.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
he sang it.
You're
He did
prophetic.
campaign.
He campaigned on a war
He campaigned on
platform.
100 years in Iraq.
He campaigned on staying in Iraq for 100
I
years
like
and
what you
bombing
were
Iran.
saying.
You're
by the way.
asking why I accepted the nomination to
I'm just
run
wondering,
for
you're
vice
sitting here
president of the
saying
United States of
you're
America,
against war abroad, and yet I just want to remind younger viewers at home, you ran with the most warmongering senator of my lifetime.
and you're asking why I ran for vice president of the United States
No,
of
I
America.
know why you ran. You wanted power.
well, you
I'm just
asked-
saying why you're
you-
not consistent.
you-
But
I mean,
maybe
to be fair to
pointless
Palin,
question.
Vance accepted the nomination, and he said that Trump could be America's next Hitler. So, I mean,
That's
you know.
true, maybe.
All right, why don't we try and be a little fairer to the ex-governor, because she's on her own
Give us a
here getting
question.
attacked
Give us
by
a
three
question.
brutal
And I
males.
wanted
Well,
to
I
talk
think-
about energy and America's
Yeah, finish your
need
point on
What you said was
for
false about energy. Facts matter too.
and
America has record energy production right
independence.
now.
No,
It does.
What's
People
false?
can Google it right now
When
and see
I
it.
said that on day one, what the Biden administration did was halt so much of our
And yet we have
exploration
record energy
and our
production.
construction of pipelines. And
I'm not a fan of that, by the way. I think we should have less energy production.
You
I'm
lied.
a critic of
You're a
Biden on his
liar.
energy production.
You're a liar. You lied.
I'm a
and
liar.
Yes, and you said no, Biden didn't do that. Yes, he did on day one.
Do you know he handed out more
They
licenses to
they
Trump? Do you know
start-
that?
I'm making the point that you denied. My point is true.
Yesterday said energy's
That-
high, and you said no. So if anyone lied, you did.
Listen.
People can DVR it, they can rewind it and
All
see
right.
you saying a
Let
false
me ask-
statement.
let me
to
ask you-
discredit
So you don't
energy
think that-
production high. Is
you
energy
don't
production
think
higher
that
today?
Biden- You don't think that Biden
Is energy
thwarted
production
our
higher under Biden
exploration,
than Trump?
And you just
Is
lied
energy production
and
higher,
said
Sarah Palin?
that
It's a very simple
Biden
question.
didn't
I know
do it.
facts about your strong point. Is energy production higher today under Biden than under Trump? It's a simple yes or no
You're
question.
an obnoxious.
See, I mean,
Facts.
so-
No, you facts don't care about your
so-
feelings.
so are Americans wrong when they have this feeling? Well, the feelings
I'm
often
obnoxious because I
generated
asked
from
you if
the-
energy production is higher today than under Trump.
You're
That makes me
obnoxious
obnoxious.
because I'm asking you why you would say that
I mean, I'm
Biden didn't
obnoxious.
thwart.
You're a
He
racist.
didn't
We want to play that game?
thwart,
You said Obama is not born in America. He's
I
not one of
did.
us.
I said that.
Yeah, you said Trump is doing a great job asking for his birth certificate.
I
You said
said
you said he's not one of us. You said he jives and schmucks. Should we go down the record? You're going to call me obnoxious? Why don't you talk about your racism?
Yeah.
What are
Why
we talking about your
why
racism?
do you change the
You said
subject
you
instead
said
of
Black
just
Lives Matter
answering a
protesters are dogs.
question?
Should we go down?
I
Should we go
said
down
they're
the-
All right,
dogs.
all right,
You're
hang
a
on.
liar.
All right, let's-
Show
let's-
me where I ever said that
It's funny
protesters
you did
are
the idea about
dogs.
you say Obama's
Let me-
shocking giant.
You're
all
a
right.
liar.
Mehdi, if you get the governor on your show, which is, I would say, unlikely as things stand, if you do, you can continue the prosecution. Let me just segue to this, though, because it's
I
interesting.
call people dogs who were protesting in
believe you.
America.
I
You're a
believe you.
liar.
Since our president won't say it, since he still hasn't called off the dogs, we'll say it.
Did you question Obama's birth?
Oh my goodness.
Did you say he's not one of us?
based
Did you say he's
on
palling around
that-
with terrorists?
Based on that, well, we were talking about Bill Ayers at the time and how
So you stand by
Obama
that?
Oh,
had
no.
kicked
You're
off
standing by Obama's with terrorists?
entire. Oh my goodness! I can't believe
Did you
even
say he's
have a
not one of
show.
us?
If you,
Did you say Obama's not one of us?
I still want to know this proof that you have of me calling protesters in America.
There's evidence for every single claim they made. It's all true. It's hilarious.
Dogs.
I believe you've read Black Lives Matter protesters. Is that
I
right? If I'm
believe
wrong,
you
I'm
are
happy with
wrong.
you.
All right, we'll fact check after this. I want to ask you this, Mehdi, because you've been very vocal and taking on. Sorry,
I mean, I got called obnoxious for pointing out energy production levels.
I
so
don't
yes.
think you would win a court case about
No,
not being
you're
obnoxious. But let's
because
move
you
on.
lied
Let's move on.
about Biden not thwarting our
I can also be
exploration and
obnoxious before you
development.
just play the what about it. Let me just ask you this, though. Given that you believe Trump is a racist who's holding neo-Nazi style rallies and so on. Why is it that he's gaining significant ground with Black and Latino voters? Why would they gravitate to a man who is literally, in your eyes, the new version of a Nazi?
Now, this is actually a good question. It's something that I've tried to work out, and it's amazing. These people just vote against their own interests. It's like, I don't understand. It's honestly a valid question. I know that like Piers Morgan is like, these are all talking points that have been set up for him. He's completely fake, and he's basically told what to say on just about anything. But it's a legit interesting phenomenon. Like, why is it happening? Anyhow, I'll continue.
It's a good question. I think because minority communities are not monoliths. I'm having the same issues in my own Muslim community where a lot of Muslims, not a lot, but some Muslims are actually going to vote for Trump because they're upset about Gaza. They think he's the peace candidate. And I think people have different reasons. I think we can make generalizations about entire communities. I'm not going to make generalizations about black or Latino votes. Although I think it's slightly exaggerated. There's an ABC poll that came out on Sunday.
You have a woman.
There's an ABC poll that came out on Sunday that shows Harris is doing better with black and Latino men than Joe Biden did in 2020.
But the significant thing, Dave, is that his Trump's own popularity with Black and Latino voters is significantly increased.
What is that popularity? What are the numbers that we talk here? Are we going from like 11% to 17%?
I think I read on African Americans, it's something like from about 4 or 5% to nearly 20%. That's significant.
It depends on what polls you look at. And again, like we'll figure out in, well, I guess it might take us a few weeks before we have this data, but we'll see what actually ends up happening on the election day. There is something very interesting about the fact that if you look at the aggregate of the polls, Trump's support amongst minorities seems to be going up. There is, at least on the surface, that seems kind of funny given how he's being covered in the corporate media. I really do think that a lot of the there's kind of like the progressive cultural worldview is often very disconnected from what people in these communities actually care about. I think the fact that I think personally there's actually a lot of things that appeal to certain people in these communities that Donald Trump, just in his personality, but I really do think that if you ask them, it all is coming down to the same two things that it's coming down to for most voters, which is immigration and the economy. These are the two big issues across all the polls.
It is, I mean, whatever side of this you're on with Trump, it is fascinating that somebody who, many on your side believe is this appalling racist and everything else, that he is increasing support in minority groups. Why is
certain talking, because black people and Hispanic people and Asian people and white, we're not fundamentally different. You can appeal to people using certain talking points. Like, I hate that I'm saying this, but like Dave said, I agree that that talking about immigration and inflation, that's a thing that plays to a lot of communities, especially if you're a poor community, especially if you don't have as much money. These are things that are probably hitting you the hardest. Now, the issue where the rubber meets the road is that while Trump will talk about inflation, while Trump was running for president, he ran huge deficits in a great economy. There's no reason for it. At least Biden has an excuse to run deficits. We're coming out of a global pandemic. And Donald Trump's every single policy that Donald Trump is talking about will increase inflation. It's going to. Who do you think? You think I'm going to care if my coffee costs $10 or $15 because of tariffs? It's not going to bother me. It's not going to bother anybody sitting here. It's going to bother the very same communities that are trying to vote for him because they're worried about things like inflation. And the policies themselves don't even make sense, right? What do you think is going to happen when we deport 12 million workers, or when we deport however many people Donald Trump wants to, or when we cut immigration even harder?
Who the biggest
right? Donald Trump will simultaneously say we're shipping all of our factories to Mexico because they're making cars on there, but we want to ban all the people from coming to the United States to make the cars. It doesn't make any sense.
Allow me to remind you of my favorite statistic, which is
I don't care about Obama. Obama is not running for president, so I don't know why.
You're ahead of me, but let me do it anyway.
I've heard it. The deporter in chief. It doesn't matter. All it proves is that Trump is a liar when you say he ran on immigration because Obama was already deporting a ton of people.
I love how prepared Destiny is. He knows what Piers is going to say before he even says it.
Greatest deporter of people in American presidential history, pro rata per year, was Barack Obama.
So would you say that Trump was lying when he said that the Democrats were bad on immigration?
Over 3 million in 8 years.
Yeah. So would you say that Trump was lying when he said that Obama was bad on immigration?
No, I'm simply saying.
No, I'm curious. Would you say that Donald Trump and the Republicans lied when they said that Obama had an open border?
There is so much.
Palin has probably said that Obama had an open border. Did they lie when they said that?
Mrs. Palin. Be respectful.
Mrs. Palin.
Mrs. Palin.
Did Obama have an open border?
Hang on.
It's hilarious. So it's funny that he loves that quote because it destroys his whole narrative. And I've brought this up myself. That is a fact. It is true that Obama was far tougher on the border than Trump. So when you say that all of these people, well, the one guy, I don't even know who he is, said that like a lot of people are voting on immigration and the economy. If immigration is like a hot button topic for you and it's important, why are you voting for a person who is less effective? And by the way, a little more information, because I dug this up myself. You can do your own homework. I'm not making shit up or lying. Out of the three people that sent the most people back across the border who tried to enter the United States through Mexico, number one, obviously, is Barack Obama. Number two is Joe Biden. Number three is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not your send them back, I'm going to fix the border guy. Like, the record shows that. So I don't understand this. Like, it defeats your own points. So, like, I really don't understand. Like, what's the point that he's trying to make with that? And Destiny, like, obviously he wants him to, like, understand this, because he's feigning like he don't get it, and, like, trying to change the topic because he knows he's going to get fucking owned here. And on the other issue, the economy, it is clear at this point, like, all of the evidence of the people who actually understand how these things work. And I'm not talking about me. I'm not an economist, but we have data. We have specific points from economists that say that all of this shit that Donald Trump is peddling is going to hurt the US economy. And it's obvious why. They shouldn't have to explain once they just say, like, okay, if he does this, this is what's going to happen, because it's like common sense. But they don't. They go into detail. They go into vast detail about specifically why. They even use, like, past examples to show exactly, like, the pattern of what they're talking about. So on either of these two issues, Donald Trump is not your guy. Like, it's fucking crazy. But anyhow, so it is true that Trump is running on this deal that he's going to complete, like, do this massive immigration overhaul. But these things sort of work against one another. So if he follows through on what he's claiming he's going to do with the massive deportation deal, which I think he will, because he's his feet are held to the fire, so to speak, right now. He has to. I think he's going to do it, or at least make an attempt to do it and get whatever he can done. But it's going to hurt us. So the immigration issue is going to destroy the economy issue, which is hilarious. And no one's fucking dealing with this except for the left here. Like, they're trying to make these points because it's so fucking obvious. And again, this is an example of the right and their best and brightest. Like, they're all, like, fucking. It's to a point where it's like these people aren't even. It's like de-evolution almost. It's like the right are, like, consistently, like, 10 to 15 IQ points below everyone on the left, and it's like the right in general, like, not the people that I'm talking about, like Sarah Palin, but the voters, they're just, like, immune to it. Either one, they can't understand that they're stupid, or two, they don't care that they're stupid. And if you don't care if your representatives are retarded, like, what does that tell you about yourself? Like, what are your values? What like is understanding basic concepts and, like, not lying, actually caring about the policies that you claim that you're, like, not just the policies, but the issues that you claim that the policies are about, and then you're grilled on it and you don't have any fucking clue what you're talking about. Why are they not just fucking immediately like, what the fuck? Like, get out of here. Like, you just made us look like idiots. Instead, they double down and they defend. And it's like, how? What the fuck is it like a cult? Because that sounds like a cult. Like, you are consistently proven wrong, like, factually, like, statistically, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Consistently, you just lie, you're proven wrong, you double down on your original shit, and then you try to act like, well, I won. And then, like, the right in general will be like, yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like fucking idiocracy or some shit, but it's real. Anyhow, that's gonna be it for today. I thought it would be good and it was fun, at least for me. But yeah, thank you for your time.